Good evening. I would like to call to order the school committee meeting for Monday, December 9th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded by our own Dartmouth Community Television as well as through the high school. And you can see this meeting replayed throughout the week. And before we go on, I also would like to ask that everyone make sure, as I just did, that your phones are on silent or vibrate. Yes.
Good evening. Could you tell us to put them back?
Oh, I know. Roll call, please.
Kathleen Amaral.
Here.
Chris Oliver.
Here.
Shannon Jenkins.
Here.
Carol Karafotis.
Here.
John Nunes.
Yep.
At the beginning of our agenda, you'll see, as we always do, we have allotted 10 minutes for public comment from the audience on any topic that's on this evening's agenda. So if you do choose to speak for public comment, please just move up to the podium and state your name.
I'll take that as a no.
Anyone? No? Okay, so next on our agenda we have the approval of minutes. So we need I'll entertain a motion to accept we'll take them separately, but the regular and executive session minutes of November 18th, which were in our packet. So I will entertain a motion for the regular session minutes of November 18th.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by, all right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I will now entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes from that same night of November 18th.
So moved,
2019.
Madam Chair, with the stipulation that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is completed.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, next we are privileged to have Sophia Waite here to update us as our student rep on what's on the goings-on of the high school.
So hi everyone, I'm Sophia. We've just come out of Thanksgiving break, obviously, and we're speeding towards Christmas break. We only have the rest of this week and one more week to a really long Christmas break that's going to be about 2 weeks long, a little even over, including weekends. So we had a successful volleyball tournament fundraiser that raised more than $1,000 for the Environmental Law Alliance Worldwide, and that was before Thanksgiving. The football team ended their season over Thanksgiving with a winning game of 14-0 victory over Fairhaven. Our seniors won a Powder Puff game to support the DECA club. It was a tournament, a Powder Puff tournament. They had a victory over the seniors over juniors. The Spirit Week competition actually ended with the sophomores winning, which was something that I don't know has happened in a really long time. So that was cool. We had student athletes have just started their season. We have winter track, unified track, and all sorts of sports that are starting, and we're looking forward to a good new season with starting that. The theater company just had a production of Charlie Brown and A Christmas Carol. The Friday night show was completely sold out, and both Saturday shows were really close to being sold out. It was a fun night for both the students who were in the production and the tech members in the audience. It was super fun. They did super great, and everybody had a good time. So we have coming up, I think it's the 20th, we have midterms for the second quarter. And everybody is ready to see where they're standing, and we know now we're into the normal year and we can see where we're standing. Today, the PSAT scores were released for Dartmouth, so everybody can see for the sophomore class and the juniors are seeing where they're standing. The sophomores are seeing how they can prepare for the next year's PSATs in hope of getting a National Merit Scholarship. And the juniors can use that information to either apply for a National Merit Scholarship or to prepare for the SATs. So that's what's happening. It's exciting. Thank you all.
Lot going on.
It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Probably have homework and
She doesn't waste
Thank you,
any time.
Sophia. She doesn't. Such a great job. Oh, she does.
Yeah, she does.
So next on our agenda, we have one, two,
Oh,
three,
geez, already.
well, three topics of new business, and we'll start with
That was fast.
the update on the superintendent evaluation process and the rubric. Early last week, I was able to attend a Mass and Massachusetts School Committee and Massachusetts Association of Superintendents event in Assabet Regional Technical High School, and it was the update and some changes around the superintendent evaluation. And I'm just going to ask Dr. Gifford if you could better eloquently describe the changes than I can.
Yeah, so I met with, let's see, I have a little timeline here, we'll go through that. I met with Mr. Nunes and Miss Amaral last week, I guess, to kind of talk about, to get started on the evaluation, and sent you the proposed goals, which we went over. One of the changes is that they are requiring, and I'm not sure who's requiring, I know it's DESE, but yet no one ever checks on how many goals we have or that kind of thing, because in the end we just submit the ratings like we do for the teachers as well. So they're requiring 4 goals, and which I gave, we discussed it at our meeting and then gave to you all to kind of review, because in the end the committee will approve the goals. So 1 student learning, 1 professional practice, and 2 district improvement goals. So that was one of the tweaks that they did to the process. The other thing they talked about was, which my proposal is to then, whatever we decide here, and then go back and continue to meet with the subcommittee, John and Kathleen, to then bring things back and forth. But that we choose 6 to 9 indicators, similar to what we do with the teachers, rather than, I think there are 29 now. They pared some of them down for the central office or superintendent rubric. They pared them down, streamlined them a little bit, so we could choose 6 to 9 focus areas that we feel match the goals. For example, if we wanted to say that we wanted, as a district improvement goal, we were going to do enhance more community engagement. We'll use that for an example. We would then might choose, the communication goals, those kinds of things. The one thing, indicators. The one thing that we want to do is to be sure we cover all 4 standards. So the 6 to 9 indicators would come across the 4 standards, but we might choose a couple under one standard that we think needs more attention. So that's one of the changes that they also suggested. Not to say that you can't also comment, again, like we do with all of our educators, on other areas that come to light throughout the process, but that we're kind of focusing our efforts on particular areas. The other thing, which has been in process for a while, and we've just never really discussed it, is the idea that anyone, superintendent 3 or more years as a superintendent in one district or another. So, for example, mine has been, this would be 5 here and then 2 others, so 7 years, can go to the 2-year cycle. That's what they propose, which would be, rather than do a mid-cycle oral report as we've been doing and halfway through or so, and then the summative written eval at the end, we can just do it as a 2-year cycle. So Those are some of the major highlights that they talked. It was a good meeting.
Yeah.
I thought it was very informative. Both folks from DESE, Claire Abbott and Dorothy Presser, who you've all met through MASC, presented the information, and they've worked really hard together to kind of continue to update the process and the rubrics, et cetera. So that's kind of where we are. Thinking is, again, we discussed the SMART goals. If anybody has, John or Kathleen, have something to say about those, and then what the committee might think about that. And then we can move,
Did you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't. I appreciate you and Dr. Gifford going to that. I was unable to attend that meeting. Sounds like one of those good ones that I missed, but that's just the way it works sometimes. But yeah, as I said at the meeting that we had, is however the committee wishes to go, I'm good with any form of the eval. And again, just for everyone out there, when this all gets put together, there's, different areas of goals and schedules and evaluations. And once, the one thing that we're looking for is, and the superintendent, I'm assuming, is looking for is proficient in that. And, you're not going to have, and again, I go back to when this first came out and a workshop we had way back when, after a snowstorm, was, that, if you give a superintendent an exemplary, you can do it in kind of, a category or two type of deal, but you don't overall want to give a superintendent an exemplar, because what you're basically saying is that he and she is, that there's nothing better, or, can't improve it, et cetera. And we all know that there are, there's always improvement available, but what we're looking for is a proficient rating.
Yeah, they were very clear on articulating that, and I remember you saying that last year as well, is that, proficient means you're really doing the job
Yeah.
well. Yeah, yeah.
But
So
again,
I'm sorry.
somebody, I apologize. Somebody out there will sit there and say, "Well, why didn't you give him an extraordinary?" And we'd love to, but they really don't want you to. As dumb as that sounds. So, sorry, Chris.
Yeah, and that's actually, I kind of understand what they're saying, but it's also a bone of contention with me, because, and not just for the administrative rubric, but also for the teacher rubrics,
Yeah.
that it makes no sense to me why, if the teacher evaluation or the administrator evaluation shows, and the evidence is there, and we're aligning the indicators, and the indicators are there showing that there's sufficient evidence that the teacher's performing best practices and maybe doing model lessons or whatnot, that we're not giving out exemplaries. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I remember looking at the data from Dartmouth, I believe, last year, and there was very few. And to me, that's surprising, because I know that there's not just administrators, but a heck of a lot of educators and teachers out there as well. And I understand, because if you get to exemplary, then it's that much more difficult, I guess they're saying, to maintain that, and they want you to show. It's very hard and very convoluted. So it's just, to me, and I understand, it's just a bone of contention with me, and it's a pet peeve that I think we should be, if it is called for, yes, exemplary should be given.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with, every single one of us, I think, has a problem with the category needs improvement. Not to say we're not all progressing or making progress, but I remember arguing this way back in the day with DESE folks when they came up with that. To hear those words, needs improvement, feels a little bit different than to see progressing. We're
Right,
all fine.
right.
We're always progressing. We're learning. That's fine. But I don't know. It's just the words go, oh. You kind of go, oh. Anyway.
I mean, coming from a place where we do lots of evaluations as well, I think, right, I live in a land where everyone is excellent.
Oh.
And no one is not excellent. And so I think that's part of what they're trying to do.
Right.
By setting the tone to say that you only give it in rare circumstances rather than giving them out like candy at Halloween. They want people to really, so I don't think you're precluded from doing it, but I think what they want you to say is that the evidence is really strong and it's really there. They're just, I think, trying to get people to think about it, because if you don't, right, it's not fun to say to your peers, like, you know what I mean? And so there's a natural, I think, human psychology behind that they're trying to combat. So I have some sympathy for that, but I think if it's warranted, then there are situations where those can be given out, and then you just have to be very confident that your evidence is all there.
The other thing I wanted to mention was, if you notice on the SMART goals, I did not put any evidence down yet. I'm going to be talking with Ms. Amaral and Mr. Nunes again. We'll have another meeting, but just to have some examples of what you'd be looking for, because one of the things we want to make clear is that evidence also comes forth at every presentation that we have at the school committee meeting, whether our schools are presenting on their school improvement plans, the work that they're doing. The curriculum department is presenting on something we're doing in math, etc. Those are all pieces of evidence of what, that align, obviously, that. So what we thought about was that we would be more intentional of saying, oh, by the way, this aligns with whatever goal, whatever standard, and not that we've ever done that before, but we're just trying to practice the adhere to the model and the process with fidelity and integrity. So
I kept reflecting back on that during the presentation, in that we get all this information at our meetings, and I don't know if that's just not practice across the board. It's my only experience on a school committee, but we have our administrators and our children and everyone coming in and kind of talking about things throughout the year and keeping us abreast. So I kept reflecting on the fact that we are getting that evidence. And how about we talk about the 1 year versus the 2 year, and then the timeline for this. I'm just thinking we have 2 school committee members whose terms are ending, who are up, or potentially, if we so choose to run, are up for re-election. So how would that work with the committee? Like, what are your thoughts or your experience around, say I don't run, or say somebody else fills this seat come April, you're in the midst of an evaluation cycle. How do we proceed as far as the new person coming on board? What's the best practice, past practice, in regards to?
I think at that case in point, it would just be if you two ladies,
Go on
God
vacation.
forbid, are not here, then it would be the 3 of us. And with all due respect to the 2 new people, they would just have to abstain, because they're not, and I don't mean it in a smart way, but they don't have all the behind-the-scenes information, that we have, or knowledge to make an informed decision. That's mine. Or, again, if you want, we can set a deadline of having this done, by the end of March. And however, whether we do a mid-cycle or we do a full-blown review, and then, we don't have to do another one until 2022 type of deal. Again, we can have everything done for the end of March, and however it works out, it works out. That's my thought.
I mean, I think under law, whoever's on the school committee has the right to do an evaluation, so it would be up to those new people to make the personal decision to abstain. I don't think we can force them to do that. Hopefully they would be good and ethical members of the school committee and do that. But I think, the process just has to go, and everyone has when you're elected to the school committee, you have that right to do it, and that would have to be up to whoever comes on if it weren't you guys and you
Yeah.
hadn't been here to make that decision.
And again, I agree.
Yeah.
But again, depending what we come up with for a timeline. Do
So we might want to do it beforehand, knowing they could participate if they
That's
wanted
why I
to,
said,
yeah.
do we do it the end of March, or do we wait and, get to the end of April,
Right.
beginning of May, like we've done in previous years?
But the question on the table right now is whether to go from a 1-year to a 2-year.
Right.
I'm perfectly fine. I think Dr. Gifford, this is her 5th year. I think at this point, just like we do with the teachers, that, we can put her, switch to the 2-year cycle. I would agree with my colleagues as far as fine tuning that timeline, as far as whether it's March, before the election or afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would personally be okay with going to a 2-year.
So if we did a 2-year, we wouldn't do one this year?
Right.
So that might make things easier, that we can set a
Yeah.
timeline that sort of starts
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
election
All right.
and
Yeah.
then finishes up before the next election.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna run into this
You-
any
you
year
run
we
into
do
it
it. So if
anyway.
we set that
Any way you do it type
would be
of deal,
good.
there's no doubt.
Yeah,
But however you
sounds-
wish
that
to
makes
handle
sense.
it is,
that makes sense.
I guess it's just whatever unless the world comes to an end, is consistency type of
Okay.
deal.
Dr. K, any thoughts or?
No, I agree completely about the 2-year. I was thinking
Yeah.
of that myself, and I think just to back up, the point that Chris made about exemplary, I know from doing evaluations myself that there are certain people that are,
Absolutely.
it's hard to find anything to say they're not doing. So I think those 2 points I'm in full agreement with.
And so I guess what we're looking for, if it, do you have another comment?
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
So I guess if it's at the, it's up to the committee, if you like what you see, we would be looking for potentially
Smart goal vote.
SMART goal vote,
Yeah.
as well as
Yeah.
1 or 2 year,
Yeah, 1 year.
right? Yeah.
We'll go with the way what I'm understanding is we're gonna go this is gonna be a mid-cycle
Yes.
review, and then, with
Okay,
that type of deal.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve the SMART goals as stated.
Yep. Second?
okay, any other further discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any, no, okay, so passes unanimously.
so what I will do is we'll meet again, the subcommittee, to go over what we think the indicators, a suggestion for indicators that folks can just kind of wrap their heads around to focus in on. Again, not to say you can't look at everything, but kind of those focus areas. So we'll call a meeting and bring that back
Yeah.
to maybe the next meeting or the first one in January.
Okay,
Yep. Fine.
great.
Sounds good.
All right.
Works for me.
Okay, so next, under new business, we have the fiscal year '21 through fiscal year '25 capital improvement plan. Mr. Kiley, could you let us know what we have here in the packet?
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Amaral. So this plan spans 5 years. What I'd like to do is really walk you through the first year and spend some time on that. And then if there's other questions about the items that are further out on the list, I'd be happy to discuss those as well. So FY '21, from a capital improvement planning perspective, that means items that would be considered at the June town meeting or then the October town meeting. So all of these items would be for consideration, could be at either of those, or maybe both if they don't get funded at the first one. So our first priority, and again, this is a draft, so it's certainly, we welcome your feedback on this plan. Our first item on the list is security improvements. One of the things that Mr. Galashaw has done such a great job of is to update our camera system and really take it to a much improved level. But in doing so, we've identified some weaknesses and some things that we need to improve. And the primary focus of this would be to target camera system improvements. There's some other improvements, security related, that have been either identified by maintenance group, the principals in the schools, physical security improvements that we really want to take a look at as well. So some of the funds will be targeted towards that, but the 3/4 of this will be really focusing on camera systems. We've worked closely with the police department, and Mr. Galashaw has gotten them direct access to our camera system, which is great. So it's a much improved product, but it definitely needs some work. So we're going to focus on that. Technology hardware. This is needed more than ever. As we're expanding our technology in the schools, it's evident that even this amount is going to be hard to keep up with what we're doing. It's the $200,000 that the town has been allocating on an annual basis. They actually fund that, and you probably know, but they fund that from the operating budget now, not from free cash. So it's on the list because it technically is a capital improvement item, and in that, it needs to go before the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. But from a funding perspective, it's built right. That and police cruisers are built right into the operating budget and voted on as part of the operating budget at town meeting. Bleacher replacement. So this has been on our list, and I moved it up a year because we really need to target the gyms at the middle school and at Quinn. The bleachers are original to those buildings. They're really bad, and I don't throw around the dangerous word very often, but people can get hurt on those. They're just really far past their useful life. We can't repair them, and we need to take a look at furnishing those. Obviously, the middle school gym was designed for a different purpose. It was designed to be the high school gym. So when we do look at that, we'll look at that and make sure that we supply bleachers that are appropriate for that space. The high school track, it's in bad shape. In order to ensure continued use, we really need to take a look at reconstruction of that track, taking it down, taking the layers down and reconstructing it. It's going to have to happen, preferably this year, but if it doesn't, it's going to have to happen in the next couple of years for sure. And there is a risk that if it doesn't occur, that we won't be able to use it for varsity athletics. So that's on the list. Boiler retrofit and replacement. So this has been on the list for a while, and it's something that would be an energy saving initiative to take a look at 2 boilers at the middle school and replace them with more modern units like we've done in some of the other buildings. It would be a great project. It really is dependent upon some collaboration and working with the utility companies. To get rebates and incentives to be able to do that. So it's been on the list. We just haven't quite gotten it done, and we've gotten several other major boiler projects done, as you know. But this one is something that certainly should be considered, and it will be a significant energy savings if we are able to accomplish it. Furniture. So there's a couple of things that have been identified, a couple of different areas. One of the big ones is cafeteria tables. We really have an issue in several schools with cafeteria tables. So we want to target those and be able to provide a safe working table for kids on a daily basis. And some classroom furniture would also be incorporated in with that article. And then art equipment. There's some items, including the tub in the dark room that need to be replaced. So we're kind of at that point where this building is starting to get to the point where it needs some attention. And some of the equipment that's not designed to last forever will start to go. So that's indicative of that. And there's other things on the list further out that show that too, including the roof on this building. So those items total $1,995,000. So that's a lot. We understand that. The town's been incredibly supportive through the years with all our capital improvements, and obviously we have projects that will be going on this year and this summer that we've received funding at other town meetings for, and we're thankful for all that. But these are items that really do need attention. There's 38 items on the list in total over the 5 years, and there could be more. It's certainly there's a long list of things that we need to take care of to make sure that the buildings are able to be used in the appropriate manner in the long term. But I'd be happy to maybe first talk about this year's items that we have on the list, and certainly if you'd like to talk about any of the other items, we can.
Yes, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Kiley. So I have several questions. First of all, I'll take it in order of priority. The security improvements, completely in agreement. This just kind of made me think, can we get an update in the next executive session on how we are doing, a little more detail on security across the district? I know we've spent a lot of money over the years on security, and I just, we haven't been really updated in a while on that. Number two, the technology hardware replacement. The Chromebooks, are we funding those still through school choice? Are they leased? Are they outright purchased?
Combination, and they have been funded through school choice. So this money is really not, has not been used for that purpose primarily, and really wouldn't be necessarily entirely used, for that purpose. I mean, there's a lot of technology in our buildings, obviously. That's the good news. But
Bad news.
yeah, we have to keep up with.
Constant battle.
It is, and this is not really funding that entirely. I mean, we do have some money in the operating budget as well.
No, I
asked
because I think that's a perfect thing for school choice.
It is. It's great
because you have five. It affects 5 grade levels, and I think it's a great it's a great source of revenue there for that. So that's what I was just curious on the school choice piece. All right, so talk to us a little more about the track, because I have reservations. The town has been very generous over the past couple of years with our stadium.
Yeah.
And I see us going to a joint meeting, or going to the capital improvement meeting, and this coming up with we're going to spend another $450,000. Yeah. So let's start off with, I guess, what is the typical lifespan of a track? What type of track? What type of material is it currently?
Yeah, so it's this track specific material, right? And that stuff is not an outdoor track like that is not designed to last forever.
Sure.
It's not designed to last for 20 years, really.
Okay.
So I think that given where we are with it, remember, it's difficult. When you build a building like this, you also are in the low bid environment, and getting bids from the least expensive track company is going to be the one that's incorporated. I'm not saying with the least expensive materials, and I'm not saying it's a bad track. It's served us well. The community uses it a ton, besides the schools, and and we're happy for that. But I think it's reasonable to expect that it needs to be done in the near future, or be at a point where it's not usable. Not usable for a varsity track contest. You know, could you still walk on it? Yeah, you can walk on it, and it can be safe for that, but not for track purposes. At some point in the near future, that could possibly happen. So, you know, we really need to tackle it before it gets to that point.
Sure.
It is expensive. We've already invested a significant amount of money in, you know, phys ed and athletic related items for sure.
It's too bad that it couldn't be around the football field. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
we have to knock down town hall.
No, thank you, Mr. Kiley, on that. And then I think everything else I'm in full agreement with. I think obviously the boiler retrofit, you know, working with Eversource, I'm sure there's some rebates there. So no, I have no other questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have some questions too. Mr. I was sitting here typing so we wouldn't forget them, right, as you went through this.
Yep.
First, I think it's great, the 200,000 that's in the operating budget, that in police cruisers, that was Bill Tremblay, right? Remember
Yeah.
way back when,
Way
who
back when,
insisted
yeah.
on that? That's great. But that also, because I'm struggling, to remember, how long has it always been 200,000, and how long has it been? There's been no increment to that, correct?
It was 200,000 9 years ago when I started, and I think at that point, it was not in the operating budget at
Right.
that point.
Right.
It gradually got rolled into the operating
Right.
budget over time, and so there was a series of increases over time to get that into the operating budget, but it was always
Right, and I get the budget.
$200,000.
The budget is tight, and so we only get 2.5 and plus new growth, right? And so we always put that elsewhere. But you know, I do want to point that out, that at some point in time, we need to start incrementing that, because $200,000 now doesn't go as far as it used to go as technology gets more complicated and we have more of that. My second question or comment was about the furniture, and serving on the DEF board. We have seen a lot of requests and increased demand from teachers for flexible seating. And I wonder if we are looking to incorporate that in our planning for purchase of furniture as we move forward.
Well, I think that while this money would not target flexible seating in classrooms, it wouldn't be enough to
Right.
really accomplish that on any significant scale. You know, it's certainly something that we can consider as we're replacing classroom furniture, but on a very small scale. This is $150,000. By the time you get done with cafeteria tables,
Right. I 100%
There's not a lot
understand-
left.
I understand that. I just want
Yeah.
to put that on the radar, that it seems that
Yeah.
teachers really want that.
we've heard that, yes.
Yeah, and I would like to see us start to plan for that, because I think it's good for the kids. The last thing I will bring up is when I sat on the finance committee, and we knew we were going to need to replace the Payden Aaron Bridge. We're still waiting. We, as a committee, collectively decided to put a placeholder for that at the end of our capital plan with no year. Given the need for new school buildings, and the fact that this plan that we built is sort of, sat on the shelf, I don't wonder whether, still think we need to discuss which plan we think is best, but I don't wonder if we ought to put some placeholders for new elementary schools with no years at the end of our capital planning request, just because it kind of reminds people that, these buildings are old and we need to have that conversation. I don't think we're quite ready for that, because I don't think we ever really settled
never
on
revisited.
which
We
of
never
those
revisited.
plans.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see that. I know I've been the pain about this, but I don't want to see that go away. So I don't wonder if maybe, again, we're not ready to put anything on this, but if we as a committee might want to revisit that, figure out which one we would support, and then moving forward, start putting, whether it be a renovation to Quinn or whether it be Potter and DeMello, putting that placeholder at the bottom to remind people that these things are out here and we need to start talking about them, because I don't want us to forget about that.
Completely
idea.
agree with you, Dr. Jenkins.
Could I just add on that? So I agree as well. And last year we added to the plan, there's a little line there that says implement facilities master plan. So it's there. There's no money listed. It's not clear as to what the plan is. So that discussion, I agree, needs to happen. And it probably can't happen in fiscal year 23 where it is right now, right? So we need to probably move that back on the list, and I think I could revise the plan to drop that down on the list, but yet,
And I think it needs to, because implement master plan, they may think, oh, you need $50,000
Right.
to, hire kids can know.
Yeah,
We
we
need
don't-
more
yeah.
than that. We need millions to
already
build
spent that.
buildings, right? Yeah.
That was, because that was 100,000, I think, was that
Yeah.
100,000?
it was.
It was
It
100,000, that's
Yeah.
gone out the
Yeah.
window.
By the
so-
time we get around to building the schools, that's all going to
triple.
be
Yeah.
outdated.
Oh, my God. Probably outdated already.
Yeah.
Would it be safe, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
would it be safe to say, could we revisit this in the next month or so? Or get it on an agenda so we
Yeah.
can just have some discussion about it?
I would like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it. I'm done with my questions. Sorry.
Carol?
Well, actually, again, Mr. Oliver took my questions and answered them for me, but to get back to the security, is that across the system with the cameras?
It
Or
is.
is that mainly one area?
Yeah, it is. It's district-wide, and, you know.
And I also was concerned about the high school track, and you clarified that for me, but if we were to do a reconstruction of it, what would be the lifespan of it?
Probably another 15 or 20 year, yeah. I mean, that's really all you're going to get. It's an outdoor facility. You just can't really get much more than that.
And my other thought as I was looking through this list is having to do with the types of things that we're putting money aside to keep the buildings running. And wondering if people could see how much money we're spending for new roofs and new burners and all of this, how much money we're spending already that's not going toward probably a new facility.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a lot. It is. When I look
is.
down at the high school, the high school roof replacement.
Yep.
Not that the high school is an old building, but, well, we just had a replacement at the middle school. But thank you, Jim, for all the work you've done on this.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, a couple of questions. Yeah, the bleachers at the middle school in Quinn, there's no doubt about that. The high school track, I know there's, when I'm up there watching the band and Mr. Kiley talked about community people using that, which is absolutely correct. But there's always somebody up there walking on it, so I mean, which is great, and even I walk it when I'm watching the kids, so that's fine. With the boiler retrofit and replacement, I know when we did the one here, besides Eversource, didn't we also get some money from the state for that?
We did. I don't think right now
That
there's
green?
nothing happening with that, but we'd certainly keep our eyes on anything that might be available. Yeah, that's where we had the Secretary of
the
Energy come
yeah.
down and everything. So
I remember
that
that.
was great. I don't know. It is possible that there might be. I'm hearing rumblings of MSBA funding. I don't know whether this is a relatively small project for that. But I hear that building construction is sort of slowing down a little bit, so they may have more money to help fund repairs and renovations and improvements. But that's I'm somewhat speculating, kind of hearing through the grapevine that that's happening. But yeah, that that project would really be dependent upon not doing it
grants.
all ourselves.
grants, yeah.
So, if you don't seek the funding, you won't be ready, and you won't have any money if the utility company, which they've been great working with us through the years and helping us with projects, but you have to be ready to work with them. So that would be our hope.
Okay. And if I can just jump down a few years, you've got a line item in here that says, athletic in 2023, athletic field restorations. Is that like all the ball fields?
Yeah, well,
Been back at Quinn in the middle school?
you know, talking about the track, there's also a lot that we need to do, outside of the buildings, in a variety of different areas, parking lots, the outdoor
yeah,
steps and things that are deteriorating and crumbling, and the athletic fields that are a baseball field where you had 2 games last year because you can't play on it. Other fields that aren't appropriate, and we just can't.
Yep.
We can't let go forever. So we have that on the list. Our goal, Mr. Crisafulli is still, relatively new here, but we have he and I have spent quite a bit of time talking about ways that we might be able to improve things, and taking a look at creating a plan to systematically do that with some hopefully relatively small improvements that could make a big difference on drainage and the quality of what we have. So the stadium has been
that's-
incredible, but
Oh,
there's a lot of other things that really are pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No, I just, to echo Shannon, having that, where is it? Just some more specific language around the to be determined the master plan, because, that needs to be revisited, and schools are only getting older, and space is at a minimum, and so I don't have any other further questions on any of that. I think everyone pretty much asked. Now, as far as this right here, is this something you're meeting with them? How is the timeline for this as far as?
So what I would suggest is that, we're really only talking about one revision. I'm happy to, as just from now till our next meeting, entertain any other questions you might have on this, obviously. But why don't I revise the plan with that suggestion? I think you're all in agreement that we should change that piece of it. And then bring it back to you for consideration at your next meeting. I would anticipate that I'll be meeting with the Capital Improvement Planning Committee sometime in January.
Okay.
So
We'll be meeting next week.
yeah,
No,
I mean,
that's
No pressure.
it would be easy enough for me to do if
Yeah.
if you're prepared to do that, that's fine. I could certainly bring it next week, and we can add it to the agenda and do that if you'd like. It doesn't hurt from our perspective, and we can have that conversation regarding the master plan whenever you're prepared to add it to the agenda. We can.
Okay.
All right.
Anyone else?
Nope, I'm
No?
good. Beautiful.
What do we have?
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's next? Oh, superintendent's update.
I'll try to go quick. I know. So lots going on, and I did remember to bring the principal's bullet points this week. I forgot them last week. Cushman's kindergarten students have been recognized at a conference with our ST Math for achieving one of their goals. So they were awarded with a book on mathematical practices for young children and a piece of artwork. So that was fun for them. Administrators from the Cushman School and DeMello School had a bus driver appreciation breakfast for the van and bus drivers just before Thanksgiving. You heard a lot from Sophia about what's going on at the high school. Tomorrow, the counseling department here at the high school will be hosting a breakfast during PACE period for 72 students who received the John and Abigail Adams Scholars Award, so that would be fun. Lots of concerts coming up, as you know. One thing that is happening here at the high school also is Potter will be coming over for a holiday concert here. And Mr. Parati and students from the media program have been selected to present at the Heinz Convention Center in Boston in January at Learn Launch conference focused on innovation and education. So
Excellent.
wonderful job. They're really getting themselves out there. And lots of the schools, including central office, are involved in some kind of giving tree projects where people are donating to needy families, including Potter's had mentioned they have 18 children this year, but they still have some tags left on the tree. If anybody's interested in taking a tag and helping out a needy family, I'm sure Heidi would welcome you to run over and grab one. Their 5th grade holiday concert, again, everybody's having concerts. I can't keep track of them all, but it's December 11th at 7 o'clock. Luckily, most of the schools have things during the day, so we get to go to those too. Also, the North Branch Library is hosting, with DESE, an elementary principals networking meeting on December 11th, and that's going to be featuring the Children's Advocacy Center of Bristol County, which we've also have coming in to do some of our strands coming up with our half-day professional development. They do offer a lot of free sessions on a variety of subjects. And I've just found out that DCTV also taped Mrs. Goodman and Ms. Baird's 5th grade class with their PSAs that they developed for the Greater New, which I actually saw on the Dartmouth Week, I think it was, New Bedford Regional Refuse District campaign to reduce plastics. Middle school 8th grade student Alexandria Adams recently won a contest on her essay, and her essay is being sent to the state level an entry for the veterans thing. And the robotics team at the middle school entered their competition this past weekend at UMass Dartmouth. It was Empire Strikes Back, and they competed against 24 teams across Massachusetts. And let's see, they I know that they did well, finished 4th place in robotic performance and won a robot strategy and innovation award. So we congratulate them for that. And across the district, though, a lot of the folks have been talking about that the focus has been on kindness and giving back. So that's awesome, too. The middle school supported 37 families during Thanksgiving with gift baskets and gift cards to Stop and Shop. And students from the Pass and Pals program with learning partners made 200 PBJ sandwiches for various organizations. And last but not least here, DeMello students also are focusing on kindness, gratitude, and joy, and they've had their kindness assemblies happening, and they'll be writing cards for folks, and it's just nice to see that constant emphasis on kindness and joy. And last but not least, we are now proposing that we move all of our meetings here at the high school. If that's okay with everyone, it's convenient with the media folks. They have the ability to, if we want to, we're not saying we're doing that yet, but do a live show, but we're not there yet. But at least, it's hard on them bringing the equipment back and forth to Quinn, et cetera, et cetera. And now with the Innovation Lab, we have this nice space. So we'd like to do that, if folks are in agreement.
No problem with
I
that.
think that's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Rob's like, thank you. It'll save him, so.
Yeah, I know, I
that's-
can't, that's why I said that earlier, I can't
Yeah,
walk now.
there you go. Well,
Well, I
plus
can,
someone,
but I've gotta leave
Mr.
at like
Galasha
3
was just
o'clock.
mentioning, it's
I'll
nice
give
too,
you
we
right
have
back.
lots going on at the high school every
Yeah.
night, and so it's open and it's active, so we might as well be here. So-
Sure.
Great.
Okay, good.
So, so my report, I don't have much. I just have one. I regret to mention we had a CPAC meeting scheduled for this Thursday, where it's an annual event. We have our parents' rights presentation, and we also do a free make and take for kids to bring their holiday gift lists for their mom, dad, brother, sister, and make and take a free and wrap presents. But we have to postpone. I'm responsible for a lot of the planning, and my mother-in-law passed away last night, and the wake is Thursday. So, thank you. Known to the Council on Aging as Sexy Alice, she passed away. She, and so So we will be rescheduling that presentation and just reframing the event, it will still be a make and take. We're thinking in February, and making some Valentines for your sweetheart or whatever your mom and dad, or maybe appreciation for all that mom and dad do for you, teachers, babysitters, whatever it is, they can come and make something handmade for. And so that's my thought, but it's unfortunately canceled. And the most unfortunate piece about it, aside from my my mother-in-law passing, we had so many volunteers from the high school volunteer to help out through Polly's, child care program, as well as other students. I mean, I had about 8 or 10 volunteers emailing me saying that they were excited to help the kids make things. So I'll have to let them know when I get home tonight that we have to cancel and reschedule. So that's really all I have. I don't know if anyone else has anything of news.
Just a couple of things. Of course, congratulations to, and I know Sophie talked a little bit about it, but our fall athletic teams, their Standard Times is now starting to come out with their fall athletic, athletes, and Sierra Yim, big surprise, got the volleyball player, of, the girls volleyball player, which was fantastic. I happened to just luck out, and I was here when they had the tournament game, and she got her 2,000th assist type of deal. So that was really, really, special to see. So congratulations to them. And in all seriousness, all our fall sports teams that did outstanding, irregardless of the records that they held and such. They all, everybody worked hard, and that was good. And last and certainly not least, but just, do we know how the bus driver from that accident is doing? I mean, I'm thrilled and flabbergasted and over the moon with what he was able to do. In all seriousness, with a deer laying on his lap, he had the wherewithal to stop the bus and get the kids out. I mean, you see some of these things on TV someplace else, a bus, has an accident or has a little bit of a fire or something that never, in all my years, I think that's the first time I've something of that nature has happened. And I'm, number one, hope he's okay. And, number two, at some point when he's back up, if we could just have him to personally say thank you to him would be great.
Yes.
I can arrange that for sure. I know that he had some fairly significant issues.
I know he's had issues with his
Yep,
the
fairly
surgeries with his
significant
hand. I know
issues,
that,
but
yeah.
I can definitely reach out and
Luke, yeah.
arrange
great,
something.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Never seen anything like it.
No,
It was
when I-
amazing.
When I got that phone call from Doctor, I said, did what?
I know.
Yeah, shocking.
So, but that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Anyone else? No?
I'll just say great job to the Dartmouth High Theater Company for their production. I was over there on Saturday, and they did a wonderful job.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. So our next regularly scheduled meeting is scheduled for next Monday. It's going to be at 6:35 at Town Hall in room 304. However, we also have scheduled prior to that at 5:30 in room 314, so a different room of Town Hall, executive session with the Finance Committee and the Select Board. So that 5:30 meeting is an executive session, but our public session of the school committee will be there at 6:35.
We'll be there with bells
With
on.
that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to provide an update with respect to collective bargaining with union and non-union personnel, not to return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll
Roll
call.
call.
That's right.
Kathleen Amaral,
Yes.
Carol Karafotis,
Yes.
Chris Oliver,
Yes.
Shannon Jenkins,
Yes.
John Nunes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.